What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to episode 43, I think, of the Be Greyt podcast. Yes, finally, I'm getting this episode out to all of you. I know I said it was going to be on Wednesday, but it's been a busy week. It's been snowing here in the South, which we're not used to, and it's just been a busy week for your boy. But you know what? I'm here. I'm getting this episode out to you on a Friday. Um, and this is kind of the start of my one video a week schedule that we're going into this off season, this college football off season. Next week, I know I said I'm going to try and do them on Wednesday, and that is the plan. Just a lot of things happened this week where I wasn't able to do that. And I don't think I'll be able to do it next week either, but I'm hoping to get the episode out to y'all on Tuesday next week. That is my plan there. So you can probably expect an episode next Tuesday. Obviously, we have some national champions that were crowned since since the last episode. As the Ohio State Buckeyes defeated the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Honestly, look, we watched the game, right? It's been a while since the game happened at this point. Let's just talk about what this means for both teams, both coaches, players, what it means going forward. Let's just talk about it, right? Because there's a lot of narratives that come out of the national championship naturally. So we have to address those narratives because a lot of the narratives are always dumb. But let's get into it. Let's start with Notre Dame, right? Look, it was a great season for Marcus Freeman, his third season with Notre Dame, I think. It was a great season. It's just a matter of how consistent can he be, you know. But what he was able to accomplish with this team this year was fantastic. You could argue if he didn't have as many injuries on his team as he did, if he maybe could have beat Ohio State in that national championship game. But it is what it is. Injuries are part of the game. Try telling Alabama fans that, LOL. But injuries are a part of the game. And it is what it is, right? And that Ohio State team was playing at an elite level at the time, and you just weren't good enough to get it done. The question is Notre Dame ever going to be good enough to win a national championship? I think clearly the answer is yes. It's possible. It's going to be difficult though. It's going to be difficult. They're losing some pieces this year. They're going to lose Benjamin Morrison in their corner. They're losing Riley Leonard. I think they'll still have Jeremiah Love, so that's good. We'll see about the defensive tackles. I don't know what year Riley Mills is or Howard Cross, but we'll have to see on those two. And then Xavier Watts, I think they might be losing as well, the safety. But look, we'll just have to see how Marcus Freeman does going forward. Can he keep this up? Can he be consistent? Next year, can he not lose to a Northern Illinois randomly early in the season? And look, Notre Dame next year, they have a doozy of a schedule, if I remember correctly. I will look it up, though, real quick. Let's see. Yes. So it's only showing 4 games on here, but just these 4 though are not easy. You're talking Texas A&M again. You're talking Purdue won't be bad. Well, Purdue will be bad, but I'm talking about for Notre Dame it won't be bad. At Arkansas, never easy, just as Texas and Tennessee. And then USC, which should be interesting for sure. Then again, they play USC a lot because they're rivals, but I digress. As far as Ohio State is concerned, I just want to address one thing. I've seen a lot of people saying that Ryan Day deserves an apology. Why? Why? I just want to understand why Ryan Day deserves an apology. He won the national championship. Congrats, right? But why am I giving him an apology for doing what he's supposed to do? He had the most talented roster easily on paper. and he won the national championship. So he did what he's supposed to do, and I'm supposed to what? Congratulate him like he did something amazing. I mean, okay, winning a national championship is not easy by any means. Okay, but we still have to acknowledge the Michigan loss because that is something that has been consistent and you have to worry about for next year. We have to acknowledge the loss to Oregon. Yes, they beat them in the playoff, but you still have to acknowledge these things. You still have to, just because someone does something amazing, it doesn't mean you just ignore things that they also did that was lackluster. Okay? And Ryan Day winning the national championship solidifies himself as a great coach, and it does mean that he's going to stick around at Ohio State for a longer time than we all thought he was going to after that Michigan game. But it does not erase what I saw in December. It doesn't erase it. It doesn't erase that I'm still concerned about his play calling in close games, late in games. That doesn't change. It doesn't change that. I still think that when the going gets tough, he has a knack for kind of crumbling. He almost did against Texas. Almost. He almost did against Notre Dame. But they were able to sustain because he has such a talented roster. But now he has to focus on keeping that roster. And they're going to lose a lot of players. I'm very interested to see how Ohio State is next year because you're not going to have Will Howard. You're not going to have Emeka Egbuka. You're not going to have a couple of those offensive linemen. You're not going to have a good majority of your defense. Now, you'll still keep important pieces. You'll still have Caleb Downs. You'll still have Jeremiah Smith. And those two are generational players. But you still need more. You still need more. Julian Sayin, I think, is 100% going to be the quarterback of the future for Ohio State. And we'll kind of see how he does year one. And it's going to be interesting. That Ohio State-Texas game week 1 is so interesting to me because we're getting to see Julian Sayin and Arch Manning. Well, it won't be Arch Manning's first start, but it'll be his first start in a game of significance, and it will be Julian Sayin's first start, I think. I don't think he played any at Alabama. So that'll be interesting to see. As of right now, I'm leaning towards picking Texas to win that game because I think Texas is not losing as much as Ohio State, personally. And I think that the issue with Ohio State moving forward is how do you make that defense sustainable? How do you not have a massive fall off defensively? Because you're losing. Let's see if I can name off the top of my how many players on that defense I can name off the top of my head that they're losing. Tyleik Williams. Oh my gosh, what's his name? JT. Jack Sawyer. Jack Sawyer was the name I was trying. I knew his name, and then right when I came to it, my mind went blank. Let's see. Igbinosun, I think is how you say his last name. He's a corner. I think they might be losing like 3 corners or something like that. I know the Ohio State will be losing Quinshon Judkins. Obviously, he's on offense, and maybe Travion Henderson as well. So both their running backs. So we'll see how they're able to replace that position. Let's see. Who else can I name? Jordan Hancock, Denzel Burke. So that's just to name a few. And you have to imagine that these losses are going to take a major effect. And obviously, Ohio State recruits well, right? They always recruit well, but Ryan Day, in my opinion, has had a real issue developing players. He's had a real issue. Well, he develops certain positions well. Wide receivers develop amazing at Ohio State. That's what they're known for. Um, but defensive players, it's really hit or miss. I made the prediction already that Ohio State was going to fall off with quotations. They'll still make the playoff. They'll still probably finish second or third in the Big Ten, but I don't think Ohio State is going to be. People will think that they are a contender to win the Natty next year. It's only natural. I don't think they'll be good enough, personally. By the way, I saw Joel Klatt's early top 10. Let's see if I can find just like an article about it. It was absolute trash. Absolute trash. I could not believe Joel Klatt would sell himself out to make such an awful top 10. Here it is right here. Way too early top 10 for Joel Klatt. Penn State 1. Just let that sink in. Texas 2, Ohio State 3, Georgia 4, Oregon 5, Notre Dame 6, Clemson 7, Miami 8, LSU 9, Michigan 10. Is Joel Klatt on drugs? I just want to ask the question. Is Joel Klatt on drugs? I think it's a fair question to ask. How do you have Penn State at 1? How? I wouldn't have Penn State in the top 5 when it comes to way too early top 10 for 2025. Penn State would be in the top 10. They wouldn't even be top 5 for me. Are you kidding me? Penn State is not going to be better than Texas. They're not going to be better than Ohio State. They're not going to be better than Georgia. They're not going to be better than Oregon. They're not going to be better than LSU, who you have at 9. And by the way, LSU being at 9, also a travesty. I've said this since the season ended. I have said LSU is going to be a dangerous team next year. Okay, if you want my way too early top 10, I'm telling you right now, 1, I'd probably have Texas. 2, probably Ohio. Actually, probably Tech. Yeah, sorry. 1, Texas. 2, Ohio State. I probably have Georgia and Oregon. I think I have about the same, but Georgia 3, Oregon 4. I'd have LSU at 5. You can keep Notre Dame at 6. Clemson at 7. I actually kind of like. I think Clemson could be a pretty good football team next year. I would have probably Alabama at 8. Who would be 9 and 10? Because you see, he has Miami and Michigan in here, and I completely think that just sends me over an edge. Miami is losing so much this year. Like, congrats, you got Carson Beck, and he's better than what he looked like this year. But the reality is, Miami is losing so much talent. There is no shot Miami is in the top 10. No shot. Well, they might be ranked in the top 10. They won't be a top 10 team. There's no shot. Michigan will be better, which isn't hard to do because they were pretty bad, but they got better as the year went on. I mean, this is giving way too much credit to a true freshman quarterback in Bryce Underwood. Way too much credit. I don't think Michigan will be top 10 either. I'd probably put Penn State at 9. 9 is where I'd probably put Penn State. 8 or 9. They can maybe flip with Alabama, whatever. Who would I put 10? I can tell you this. A team that's getting some early hype right now is Florida. Florida's not a top 10 team. You can stop that dream right now. They'll be better. But they're not going to be a top 10 team. You can stop with that nonsense and that absolute cope right now. Auburn, I think, will be a lot better. They won't be a top 10 team. Texas A&M, LOL, no. Ole Miss is going to regress heavily. They won't be a top 10 team. South Carolina is an interesting one, I'll admit. South Carolina is an interesting one. Missouri, no. kind of go through the SEC. You know what? Let's put a Big 12 team in 10. I think just to give them some respect, let's put a Big 12 team at 10. And you know what? Maybe this kind of goes into my although I think I already made this prediction about this team. I'm going to put Texas Tech at 10. Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech has done really well in recruiting. They've done amazing in the portal. Texas Tech at 10. That's what I would do. So there, Joel, I fixed it. I fixed you having, because I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to remember this. And when we come back around, and Penn State once again beats all the bad teams, loses to Ohio State, loses to whoever. Have they announced who Penn State plays next year? Let's see. Let's see who all they play. 2025 schedule. Let's see. So when Penn State goes and loses to Oregon and Ohio State, yes, that sounds about what Penn State will be. All these other teams, they'll lose to Oregon, lose to Ohio State, and then make the playoff at around where they were this year. That's exactly what will happen. They'll have the exact same type of year. Why? Because Drew Aller sucks. I don't know how, if you're Joel Klatt, you could put a team that has Drew Aller as their quarterback as the number one team, even if it's way too early top 10. That is an absolute travesty. But if you want my way too early top 10, I just gave it to you. I'll repeat it just in case you want to write it down. Number 1, Texas. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Georgia. Number 4, Oregon. Number 5, LSU. Number 6, Notre Dame. Number 7, Clemson. Number 8, Alabama. Number 9, Penn State. And number 10, Texas Tech. That's what I believe the way too early top 10 should be. Again, things can change as we move along to the spring and the spring games. And then as we get closer and closer to the season, because we'll get that second transfer portal window and all that good stuff. Okay. Just also to go ahead and say this. I next week, obviously, you'll get another episode from me, and I'm going to continue with the one a week thing. Just to tell you what you can expect with these episodes going forward. They're all, for now, going to be draft related. Okay, obviously I gave you a first round mock last week. And starting next week, we will get into certain positions, okay, in the draft. So next week, I'm going to give you my top 10 quarterback rankings for next week. And what teams I could see drafting those players. And we're basically going to go through positions going forward here for these next few weeks. Okay? That's what I'm not going to do kickers or punters or long snappers. But, we'll do, your typical. We'll go quarterback first. Then we'll go running backs, which I'm really excited for. Running backs, really good class this year. And we'll do top 10 for each of these, by the way. All right. Then we'll go wide receivers. Then we'll probably just go. Do I put offensive linemen in one thing? I think I'll separate them. I'll do tackles, and then I'll do guards and centers together. And then we'll go defense. We'll go defensive tackles, which include nose tackles. We'll go edge rushers. We'll go linebackers, interior linebackers. If you're an outside linebacker, I'm just including you with the edge rushers, okay? Like Jalen Walker, I will just include with the edge rushers, okay? Then we'll go interior linebackers, corners, safeties. That's what we're going to do. Okay? That's the plan moving forward. And then after that, we'll kind of see where we are. I'll probably do some more mocks. And that's kind of my plan moving forward because I love draft season.